Hi everybody, thanks for tuning in today. We are just going to wait for 2 more minutes just to make sure everyone has signed in correctly, and then we'll get going from there. Hi everyone, and welcome to eyeforpharma's Create Win-Win Partnerships with Patient Groups webinar. My name's Lucy Fisher. I'm Vice President at eyeforpharma, and I'm joined today by a couple of great speakers who I'll introduce in a second. This webinar reflects the increasing recognition that many pharma companies are starting to take to become real integrated healthcare providers. The popularity of the session has been great. We have over 1,100 people registered to listen to the webinar, so thank you all for joining us today. Our speakers today have kindly agreed to join us and discuss their current projects and thoughts within the area of stakeholder partnerships. During the webinar, if you have any questions, you can type them onto the box on the right-hand side of your screen. I'll then ask the speakers the questions during the final 15 minutes in the Q&A session. This webinar is being recorded, so you'll receive the recordings after the session. The webinar is a little taster of what to expect at our flagship eyeforpharma Barcelona Summit on the 18th till the 20th of March next year. The main theme of this is creating value for your patients. Now I'd like to introduce our 2 speakers joining us today. First we have Dr. Klaus Suelak, who is General Manager of the Institute for Innovation and Integration in Healthcare at I3G, which is part of Johnson & Johnson. And secondly, we have Virgil Simons, the founder and president of the Prostate Net. That's a non-profit patient education and advocacy organisation. To kick off, we would like to get you all involved, as we don't like to do all the work ourselves. So we have a question to ask everyone. The question will appear on your screen now. So if you can okay, so if you can answer the question that's on your screen, just click in the multiple choice box. We will then kind of collect your answers and discuss this later. So everyone, if you could click one of the 3 options there. And 3 seconds to go. And that's it. Okay, so the results there are shown. So most of the audience, 43%, think that the EU will use different models compared to the US. 37% there think that it won't be changing, and 20% think the EU will shift. So later on in the webinar, we'll discuss the answers to that. Now we've got a second poll question. Again, everyone, if you would like to submit your answers, are you involved in care management? So at this point, Klaus, I'd like to just get your opinion on what the actual, what your definition of care management is while we collect these answers.
Yes, Lucy. Yeah, care management is, in this case, a service organizing the cycle of care for a patient in a more holistic or integrated way and guiding the patient through the healthcare system. That's meant with care management in this surrounding.
Okay, great. So we've got quite a lot of answers coming in there. You've got 5 seconds left to submit your answers. Everyone, do please vote for one so that your views can obviously be reflected in the answers here. And 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's great. So the majority are not involved actually in care management, which is interesting. I guess, Klaus, that's why everyone is signed into this webinar to find out more information. And then we have a roughly even split between the 3 answers. So, Klaus, I'm actually going to hand over to you now for any comments on those answers and then to lead on to your presentation. So, over to you.
Thanks, Lucy. Thanks, Lucy. Yes. Okay, I have to take over the presentation. Can everybody see the presentation? Okay. Thanks a lot. Yeah, interesting result. Already 20% are involved in care management. Thank you. I'm going to share with you an example for an innovative contracting model between the industry and the payer. Our company, the i3G, is a management company founded by Janssen that is exclusively engaged in care management and integrated care and healthcare research. The main objective is to qualitatively improve the therapy for the patients and to make it more efficient by using an integrated and transsectoral care management approach. I will explain that by means of a case study dealing with a psychiatric disease, schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a very burdening disease with symptoms such as delusions, including paranoia, auditory hallucinations, disorganized thinking, etc., with frequent relapses often leading to chronicity. So the integrated care model, therefore, is an example for a chronic disease.
Klaus, sorry to interrupt there. We just can't see your first slide, so we're just going to see what we can do from this side of things.
Because I can see it.
If you open your presentation on your screen.
Yeah, I can open it, but sorry for that.
And then if you press share my screen.
Yeah, I didn't get the share my screen button, therefore.
Okay, just 1 second.
Okay. Okay, iPhone was with me. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry everyone, we're just having a slight technical issue and we're back. Okay, thank you, Klaus. Go ahead.
Can you see the first slide? Okay, I'm switching over to the second one. That's the agenda, starting with a rationale and background for the integrated care model, and then later on I will close with first results and key learnings. So schizophrenia is not only burdening to the patient, but also very expensive for the healthcare system. The psychiatric illness in Germany is among the top 10 cost drivers for the health insurances. From a total of direct healthcare cost of 3 billion euros, almost 60% are caused by hospital treatment. And this is due to the so-called revolving door phenomenon. Patients getting hospitalized for schizophrenia tend to relapse, and with every relapse, the frequency and length of stay is increasing, and the disease often develops into a chronic illness, and there are several reasons for that. The most important reason is that we have a very fragmented healthcare provision. In Germany, the ambulatory sector for psychiatric patients is quite weak due to budgeting constraints, lack of ambulatory care provision in terms of psychiatric nursing, and in terms of regular psychotherapy. On the other hand, the hospital sector has nearly no incentive to reduce days in hospital due to a payment according occupancy rate. There are no DRGs or case flat rates in psychiatry in Germany so far. And we know from various scientific studies that hospital treatment can often be replaced by a proper ambulatory care that's better for the patient. He's in his own living and social environment, and it's better for health insurances as ambulatory care can be provided at much lower costs. So the deficits of the care process are quite clear. The treatment is hospital-centered, it's fragmented, there's lack of communication between the providers. Only a few patient-friendly facilities and offerings are available, and this is leading to many avoidable hospital admissions that are very burdening to the patient and expensive. So having that in mind, the AOK in the federal state of Lower Saxony in the north of Germany, a partly very rural region as large as Switzerland or the Netherlands, started a tender process for the total AOK schizophrenia budget. And I3G has become the partner of the AOK for an integrated care contract for schizophrenia. I3G is an independent subsidiary of Janssen with no link to the farm business and with no product-related contracts with the sick fund. The physicians retain their full treatment responsibility in this system. They just have to follow the official guidelines of the German Psychiatric Society. The AOK was looking for a coordinator that can establish new structures with a consistent care program, and was looking for a partner that was able to invest upfront with competency in the field of schizophrenia, and therefore they put out this tender procedure. The integrated care model we are using consists of several features. The backbone of the whole treatment is the pathway with a modular setup. The modules allow development of an individual treatment plan per patient based on his or her individual needs. The most important point of contact for the patient is his so-called personal therapist, a specialized psychiatric nurse that is working as a kind of a care manager and part of a team based on the model of assertive community treatment like it's available in UK. The patient is able, for example, in case of an upcoming emergency, to reach the system 24/7 by phone. Crisis intervention and home treatment allow the treatment of the patient in his personal environment, and by thus avoid unnecessary hospital admissions. An IT system for documentation and quality assurance is connecting the whole provider network, and that's important to have as well. So the treatment path is scientifically substantiated. It's based on medical guidelines, tested and proven in previous projects, and the intention is to improve quality of care for the patient and create more efficient results for the healthcare system. So the 5 phases of the psychiatric treatment pathway are shown in this slide. The treatment pathway consists of the first admission of the patient where informed consent is needed. Then there is an assessment for individual needs of the patient done by a psychiatrist. Then we have a module for basic treatment. If necessary, we have a crisis intervention in a stepwise approach. And very important, the recovery process with modules like psychoeducation, empowerment, reintegration, and so on, aiming for a better recovery of the patient in the system. The medical network is in several levels. The medical network is based on the existing regional structures, plus a strong collaboration between a specialist psychiatrist and a specialist nurse organization. They are responsible for the integration of the whole system into the regional or local setting, including, for example, social care in the local network or community facilities nearby the patient. Changing a care approach always needs quality control. So the integrated care system has a quality management system with predefined quality requirements and indicators, regular quality circle, case conferences between specialists and personal therapists, and finally patient satisfaction as an important outcome parameter is measured on a regular basis. And we recently measured the patient satisfaction in our system. Here you find the latest results. We did a survey with patients at least 1 year in the system, and we took a standardized questionnaire with 8 items, scale from 1 to 4, and the maximum scale value would have been 32, and we reached 27.9, an extremely good value indicating a high patient satisfaction with the whole integrated care system. And the single items showed similar good responses. If you look at the needs of the patient and how, to what extent the needs were fully met, we have excellent results, and even more important, patients would recommend integrated care to a friend if she or he needed similar help. Our net promoter score is nearly 90% if you take together clearly yes and generally yes. The overall rate of satisfaction is 90% as well, and the participation prognosis for the future was extremely high if you put together generally yes or clearly yes. Over 90% of the patients will go on with the integrated care system. Besides the routine quality measurement we are using, and as shown before, there's an ongoing independent scientific evaluation, but as you may know, this takes some time, so we don't have any results. The evaluation compares an intervention group with a control group, and the goal of the evaluation is to show the outcome parameters, significant reduction of hospital days, reduced rehospitalization, and the improvement of several criteria like severity of disease, level of social function, remission, quality of life, treatment satisfaction, need for support, and finally, the perspective of the health insurance, significant cost reduction in the intervention group, in the integrated care group. So the overall goal of the initiative is quality and efficiency for the patients, for their relatives, the specialized physicians and nurses, because they have much more treatment options in such a system. The community-based psychiatric services and hospitals, they can integrate themselves in the network and work together with the integrated care system, and the society is profiting from the system because there is increased efficiency of care, and we think that there's an ethical right for the patient to get the best care he can that is available. Some key learnings from the integrated care so far. We could show that the industry is able to organize care management, holistic care management approaches without being a healthcare provider itself. So there's independency. All partners have to be open for a change process. There must be a lot of trust and openness that has to be established. You need to communicate with all stakeholders in the region. That takes some time. You must keep the business product neutral. That's a prerequisite, we think. And patients definitely profit from this system by a better outcome, higher satisfaction, and less time in hospital. That makes it much more efficient, and efficiency can be increased substantially via this type of integrated care. So, thank you for your attention. I hope you have questions later on.
Great, thank you very much, Klaus, for that great presentation there. So we've actually had a few great questions come through already via the system. So what we'd really appreciate is if everybody listening would like to ask Klaus one question, we'll then go through them and direct them towards Klaus in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So now we will move on to Virgil's presentation. So first of all, we'll just bring up the results of the poll that we took earlier with regards to whether the EU is going to move towards patient advocacy groups. So most of the results there, we can see 43% said that the EU will use different models. So Virgil, over to you now for your comments on the results and for your presentation.
Thank you, Lucy. I think just lost the screen here, Lucy, to get my presentation back.
If you just want to maximize your presentation on your screen.
There we go. Thank you. I think the thing is, it's encouraging that at least 63% are looking toward a greater engagement with the advocacy community. I think it's something that has proven beneficial to pharma and to patients in the U.S. and other parts of the world. From my perspective, I'm a prostate cancer survivor of 18 years, and we formed the Prostate Net 16 years ago. We've had fairly significant involvement in the U.S., obviously, the Caribbean, Latin America, Australia, Japan, and India, and we've had some initial work here in Europe, but we've now incorporated ourselves as Prostate Net Europa here in Spain, and we're looking to begin to develop the same kind of collaborations we think that can make some positive results here. The issue that we talk about, obviously, the facts of prostate cancer. It is a global issue. It's one that's increasing, and we're seeing that there are in certain regions, for instance, Spain, pockets of even higher risk, where men under the age of 60 are presenting at a most even more aggressive and highly increased rate. So what we're talking about really, and what's been effective, is how advocates can expand the role they have as the voice of the patient. We look at a new definition and have looked at it as not just having the voice of the patient, but of being able to act as the patient with many partners via industry or government or corporations to be able to achieve those benefits for both groups. So what we're seeing here is instances of being able to collaborate and then activate to provide benefits to the patient, enhance standards of care, but also at the same time meeting the marketing objectives of the industry partners, helping them enhance their corporate image, and at the same time showing how together we can achieve something significant. So, for example, we look at the prostate network. We have a matrix that today extends to 51 countries, where we will work with government agencies to be able to help them fulfill the charters that they have to serve the public, be it in terms of education, disease intervention, screening, research activities, what have you. From the standpoint of the medical and research centers, we look to find ways to help them increase the catchment of patients in their area, help them with their research agendas in terms of looking at those things that are most important to patients, helping them to be able to develop the tools necessary to achieve that recruitment. We look at the sponsors in terms of what their goals are. What are they looking to maximize from a product standpoint, from an image standpoint, from a share standpoint? And we'll then build those activities together that can achieve those aims. All of it comes back to benefit the community in terms of what we can deliver for them. If we look at what's happened to a great degree in the States, we see more and more of pharma industries coming together with patients to create partnerships. This is an example that Sanofi started about 1.5 years ago. They're partners in patient health, where around the areas of health and government policy and research, sanity and key patient groups have come together to be able to meet, again, the needs of the patient and the needs of industry as well, to develop those products that are important, promote those products to help achieve market share, and also, again, to help build the base of engagement. We see that playing out in some of the things that, for example, we've done here in the States. This has been one of our initiatives that we've called our symposium concept, where we will bring together leading-edge physicians from around the country to a given location, have a dual-track presentation for both patients and for professionals, giving them the tools they need to be able to run their practices better, serve their patients better, be able to educate their communities better. We've had significant support over the years from industry across the board, because what we do as part of these symposiums and other activities is then subtly talk about the products that will serve the customer to their best end. We don't necessarily talk specifically about a given product, but a class of product. We'll talk about the importance in terms of patient care, what it can mean for the patient in terms of better quality of life, possible survival, and the like. And again, it's a way of industry being able to get their message out without having it being a industry-led message and one that focuses only on the same corporate objectives that they have in measuring just the growth of a product line. We've done the same thing here in Spain. 3 weeks ago, we launched the first patient and professional symposium here in partnership with the Fundación Puigver. We engaged other advocacy groups in the community to be able to get the message out, to be able to provide them with tools and services they can deliver to their audiences, and at the same time talk about specific areas of importance to the pharma companies as well as to the medical providers. It increased their physician attendance over any other symposium by 21% and increased patient attendance by over 327%. What we then did after that was provide tools for them to be able to work effectively going forward. We developed a website for the Fundacio where we would place all of the presentations governed by each of the faculty members as an ongoing archive of information that could be used by medical professionals to educate their patients, that could be used by medical centers in terms of general patient education and awareness, that can be used by the patients themselves and the support groups. Again, this is a tool that was not available, is now available as part of the collaboration we were able to achieve. We also will provide things like a translation of our newsletter, which has been an award-winning newsletter in the United States, providing information on drug development, research, patient management tools that would not normally be seen by many medical professionals, by many patients here in Spain, for example, or other parts of Europe. We will customize the format so that, again, they will have registration within their communities, and they'll be able to then deliver world-class information that would not normally be accessible. So what we look at here, and trying to sum up very briefly what we're talking about, is that the whole idea of working with patient advocacy is not viewing patient advocates as merely patients, or as professional patients we've been called in some communities, but seeing them as really partners in the business, partners who will be able to help them achieve the same marketing goals that they have and that they measure themselves by, but can do it in ways and in voices that pharma can't do alone. So again, for us, we think it's an opportunity for collaboration, for a new way of looking at business, and a new way of delivering patient-centered care across the board. We thank you for the opportunity to be here, and again, we'll entertain any questions you bring forth.
Great, Virgil, thank you very much for that presentation there. So now we would like to move on to some questions and for both of our speakers. So we've received lots of good questions now, but as I said before, we'd like to see a question from everybody listening, if possible, so please do send those through. So first of all, a question for Klaus. This is from Peter Lindskog. So Klaus, what's the key to making initiatives like I3G successful from, firstly, customer perspectives, and secondly, an internal pharma perspective?
Yes, I think also, as already mentioned, we have a lot of key learnings out of this initiative, first of all, if you talk to payers, and for them, efficiency is always an important issue, and therefore it's necessary to find an area where payers are interested in, where there may be quality gaps and maybe efficiency gaps, and then ideally to develop a solution in this direction, ideally together with the payer, and for this in the industry, I think you need a separate unit that is exclusively engaged with this area of work, because that's different to the normal farm business. But I think there are a lot of good reasons why the industry can do this. There's broad knowledge from clinical research, knowledge in process management, development of business models, and so on. So there's already a lot available in the pharmaceutical industry, and that's a good starting point to engage in this direction of care management for chronic diseases.
Okay, thank you. So Thomas Hasman asks, this is to you, Klaus, as well. Why has this been set up under a new brand instead of a Janssen project itself?
Yeah, that's due to the fact that at the time we founded that in Germany it was according to the law. We had to found a separate management company at that time because this was necessary by law. And therefore we choose to separate this company from Janssen to make crystal clear that the pharmaceutical business is one side, and on the other hand we have the care management business that is independent. So when we started, we got a lot of questions whether this is a new marketing trick to sell products in this area, and therefore it's absolutely necessary to clarify what are the goals of the players in the system. And for us, for the I3G, it was important that we were the company engaging in care management and not influencing the product usage of the doctors in the field.
Okay, thank you. So we've had a few people asking a question kind of along the lines of ROI, including we've got John Whiting and Emma Borg here. So they're asking what are the measures of ROI that you use?
Yes, the whole business model is working with the efficiency out of the system. So beforehand, we have to invest in the ambulatory system. As mentioned in my talk, we have to invest here in personal therapist and treatment in the ambulatory setting. That's the investment. And later on, when we when patients get better and when their needs concerning hospital days in hospital or other needs are reduced, then the treatment costs are going down for the patients, and then we have the efficiency gains. And yeah, that's we definitely want to have efficiency out of the system because this service is not for free. We want to make efficiency profit from the system. But it's much too early to give more figures in terms of ROE. We are on the track. We are in the phase of investment, but we have a business plan where we will reach break even after 2 or 3 years, and this is on track now. Yeah.
Great. That's good to hear. Okay, so now we're going to move across to Virgil, so we'll ask you a few questions now. So we have a question from Sarah Louise Beasley. She says, in many countries, including the UK, we can't engage with the patient groups if it's considered promotional. So have you got any advice, Virgil, on what to do in that situation?
Well, it's a similar kind of things in the U.S. We know that pharma cannot talk directly to the patients. So we become pharma's voice in many ways. So for example, I'll give you one of the case studies we have. When Taxotere was launched initially, we were involved with the company in terms of obtaining data about the drug, in terms of what it had in terms of potential benefit to the patient. We then worked with the various principal investigators around the country who were doing the actual clinical studies. We interviewed them and we began to put together a series of newsletter articles that talked about the drug, what it was planned to do, what we saw the ultimate patient benefit target to be. We encouraged people to enroll in the studies and become part of it. As the work progressed and the indications became more and more positive, we continued talking about the drug, talking about the proven results to date, again talking to patients in terms of what we saw their benefit would be. We identified the parameters of the ideal patient who would benefit from this. We encouraged them to talk to their doctors about either participating in the later stages of the trial or, once approved, possibly moving to take the drug as part of their treatment protocol. We used a variety of techniques from newsletter articles. We placed articles in syndicated press release. We did podcasts. We did video interviews. We used YouTube. We used Oncology Tube, many others that we used along the way to help promote it. So again, it's not a case where pharma is talking directly, but they are providing support for those initiatives developed by patient advocates who then talk to the patient directly.
Okay. And along similar lines there, Steve Heller has commented that he sees significant conflicts with ProstateNet between representing patients' best interests and helping the industry to meet its shared goals. Sorry. So what are your comments to that?
I missed part of it. So that we were in competition with the industry, and sorry.
So he says there is potential significant conflict between representing patients' best interests and then helping the industry in meeting its shared goals.
No, because the issue is that we have to have very clear indication that the drug or the protocol does have patient benefit. We want to see clinical data. We want to see published data. We want to be able to talk to the investigators to show that there's something here and it's not just hype. And in terms of being able to get that message out to patients, ultimately will have a benefit for the industry. And it really isn't a conflict or a competition. It's a matter that we're trying to serve the patient from two different perspectives.
Okay. And again, we've got people asking on, how do you measure the success? What's the ROI? So how do you do that with the ProstateNet?
Well, the thing is, obviously, we can't look at number of scripts that are written because not as part of our purview, but we look at share of mind activities. We will look at, for example, if we have an article on our newsletter, how many accesses came to that particular page of that article. Do they come from patients? Do they come from professionals? Do they come from government agencies? What was their source? We look at the number of hits on a website that we have promoting a particular area of treatment. We will look at our YouTube or Oncology Tube channels to see the number of views that we have there. We will look at the number of people who are participating in a symposium. We'll look at the number of downstream mentions that are placed in patient advocacy articles or patient advocacy communications. We'll look at further calls to our toll-free hotline asking for more information. We'll look at information coming from physicians in terms of more information that they can pass on to their patients. So really, as I say, looking at share of mind as much as helping the pharma partners achieve share of market.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. So now we're just going to switch back to Klaus. We've had some more questions come through for you. We've got from Mark Singh Jones and also Hervé Drevo have asked questions on to do with how I2EG is funded and how easy was it to obtain these funds.
Yes, we are a subsidiary of Janssen, and therefore the initial investment came from Janssen, but it's a single standing company, and therefore the funding will later come out of our activities. Therefore, we have an initial funding from J&J and Janssen, and later on with this will be a single standing company, and the profit is generated from our services. We are contracting with payers.
Okay, great. Thank you. And how open have you found that payers are to partner with the industry in this area, Klaus?
Yes, due to the fact that efficiency is always an issue for payers, they have certain areas of interest where they want to have qualitatively a good healthcare provision for their patients on the one hand, and they have areas where they need much more efficiency in the system, and psychiatric diseases are such an area, and therefore payers were quite open to discuss solutions for the patients and for the healthcare system. And that's due to the fact that there are several areas of chronic diseases, for example, where people are often in hospital when it's definitely not necessary, and we try to reduce the unnecessary stays in hospital, and thus reducing costs for the payers, and therefore they were quite interested in discussing solutions that are increasing quality and reducing costs for them.
Okay, and are these like pay for performance, or selling the service to payers en bloc?
This system, for example, we are using in Lower Saxony. That's a virtual budget system. We took over the budget responsibility for the schizophrenia patients of the sick fund, and therefore we are working with a virtual budget in this direction. And but for example, the doctors involved in and the nurses involved in the system, they have a pay-for-performance system linked to their remuneration. So we are working with pay-for-performance systems in this area.
Okay, and Peter Dunkley asks, do you collect metrics on the improved outcomes for patients, i.e. the reduce in the length of hospital stay?
Yes, absolutely. We are not only measuring days in hospital or relapses of the patients. We are using a lot more quality indicators in the whole system. For example, how long does it take until a psychiatric nurse gets in contact with a patient? And we have a whole group of quality indicators we are using, so we are constantly measuring the quality For example, patient satisfaction, as I showed, is an important quality measure. Finally, yes, days in hospital, costs for the patients, that's tracked as well.
Okay, great. So, Virgil, this one is to you. How has the Prostate Net brought benefits to patients themselves?
In many ways, we look at direct patient benefit. We've had many of our in-community efforts. For example, one that we've done with the Harley-Davidson motorcycle group, where we've done actual health fairs in the Harley-Davidson showrooms. It's a program we call Gentlemen Check Your Engines, with the idea of being the guys care more about their bikes and cars than they do about their bodies. It's a way of breaking down barriers to understanding healthcare. By bringing in these health fairs, where we've done in collaboration with other advocacy groups, other healthcare providers, we've been able to deliver a message of the importance of health responsibility, and in many cases bring health services to people who haven't had them. For example, 3 years ago in one of the events, a guy came up, said he had not been to a doctor in over 40 years. So we ran him through the cycle, talked to people. He then went to the hospital, got a PSA test. Turned out he had a Gleason 8 and would have been dead in a couple of years had he not had an intervention. So we have that as an example. We look at other situations where we give people information that they need to know. We talk about the stratification of risk. Obviously, we know that certain ethnic and cultural populations have a higher than normal risk factor. So giving them the information about the risk they face, the things that they can do to prevent it, the things they can do to counter it, have meaningful patient benefits. We look at patients who maybe are moving into a progressive stage of disease. We can talk about the various options that are available to them that they can then begin to talk with their doctors about in terms of seeing if there might be a better protocol for them in terms of extending survival and quality of life. So we look at the interventions being in many ways personal on a one-to-one basis, as well as in general looking across a community-wide basis, and some aspects national in terms of what we do in terms of our global initiatives.
Okay, and do you see any potential, Virgil, for any partnerships with medical device companies, and are there any specific issues that you foresee?
Well, we've had partnerships with a couple of providers of urological devices, slings, incontinence slings, other things. We have relationships with radiation delivery equipment providers. We see that the partnerships we can build from the standpoint of industry is any group, any company that is involved in the detection, treatment, or ongoing management of the disease. So we aren't really narrowly looking at just drug makers. We work with, again, diagnostic test manufacturers, radiation equipment specialists, those provide incontinence as well as ED products. So we don't have any kind of circumspection in terms of our involvement.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. We do have a lot more questions, and we'll do our best to pass these over to speakers and see if we can get these answered either individually, or we'll send these out with the recordings from the webinar. But it is now time to wrap up the webinar itself. So I would like to say a big thank you to Klaus and Virgil for their presentations and discussions today. And thank you to everyone who is listening for joining us. I hope you found this session valuable. and I look forward to your feedback on the session. As I mentioned at the start, the main points covered in this webinar also form the main theme of our eyeforpharma Barcelona conference, which is next March the 18th till the 20th. It's the world's largest commercial pharma gathering, and the full speaker lineup and agenda are available to download from our website. We're actually just going to send the link to you now so you can go ahead and download that if you're interested in this topic area. So thank you very much, everyone, and we look forward to you joining us next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.